Rupert Lowe, you're a big fan of him, aren't you?
Big time.
Yes. Well, apparently he's exposed the UK Home Office. 90% of the questions he asked the Home Office, they responded saying they don't collect that information. As we already know for a long time, the Home Office clearly have no idea. I want to have a little watch of this. It's a complete free-for-all inside the Home Office, and I would say we should sack them all. Let's have a watch of this.
My question is to the Permanent Secretary. The Home Office, and it's on the data point, the Home Office keeps saying it wants to improve police productivity. It says it wants to drive efficiency. It says it wants to tackle resource pressures. How can you manage what you don't measure? That's my question. And how can you understand the impact of anything on productivity when you simply collect none of the data? Now, through my parliamentary office, I've asked 610 questions of the Home Office since the election. Hundreds were data related. Of those, roughly 90% of the time, there was no data, or it wasn't centrally collected. And frankly, I think that's unacceptable. We now know forces do collect some of this data because we get it through FIs direct from the forces. So I've got a question for you. As an example, let me ask you one direct question, and it's data related, and I'd appreciate a direct answer. So how many illegal migrants have absconded or gone missing from Home Office accommodation in the past 5 years? Do you know the answer to that?
There is this was something that was looked into by the ICIBI recently, and in due course that report will be published.
So I'll take it you don't know that. So,
well,
frankly, it's unbelievable, Permanent Secretary, because you don't hold this data. I don't know why not. Is it ideological? Is it incompetence? Why don't we hold it? The British people want this data.
But
hang on, can I just finish? The British people want this data. They want to know the impact these illegal men are having on their police forces' capabilities. How can you claim to be improving productivity when police forces are being loaded with immigration tasks you don't measure, you don't report, and you can't quantify? So will you commit to publishing more of this data?
I think there's been a misunderstanding about the answer to my question. I wasn't saying I didn't know the answer. I was saying there has been a report, and the report will be published in due course.
There's always a report. It's always going to be published in due course. We keep hearing this from the civil service, and frankly, it's not good enough.
It's not my decision on when and whether the report is published.
It's your decision.
It's not my decision.
Okay, well, there are always reports we're waiting for. And this data should be readily available. And with AI, it should be much easier now to collect this data. So, that's basically my question, Chairman. I don't see how we can manage police efficiency when we don't have the data. It's impossible. You can't run a business without knowing the data. It's just impossible. And frankly, we get this in meeting after meeting we've had. People don't know the data, so they make bad decisions.
So I've got something to say, and then I think Sam, you want to come in. I think I've got a reasonably good record of showing up to this committee and giving as much data as I'm able to give. On your particular question, I'm saying there is an ICIBI report which is due to be published at some point. It is not my decision not to give that number now. That's what I'm telling you, what I can tell you. I completely agree that in order to understand anything, you have to understand the data, and that's why we are setting up frameworks and a new team that exists in order to gather more data on police performance, and Andy himself in the college gathers a lot of data on that, and presumably we're going to go on to talking about productivity data, and that's a good example. But there's no question, if you're running an organisation, you need to understand the data on which that organisation runs, and that is what we are already seeking to do.
Well, I run multiple organisations, and you're having trouble transitioning an accounting package for the school here. So that doesn't fill me with great confidence. It's not that difficult to transition an accounting package, frankly, and I find it incredible that can't happen. And I ask these simple questions. I never get an answer. 610 questions, 90% with no data.
It's facts though. I don't know if you've the whole Home Office and whatnot is all completely outdated. They operate at a level of 50 years ago, their sort of data. They probably have these old computers that came in 1995 where they operate their sort of stuff on. to a point of like, have you ever tried to file a self-assessment in the UK? Oh, it's fucking like pulling teeth. It's like so slow to do anything. It's not like instant. We're in a world now where everything's kind of instant, but like dealing with their important stuff like taxes and stuff like that, you literally have to you have to work so hard to give them money and like pull like, it's just, the system just doesn't work. So when they've got stuff with regard to other things and data, they don't have it. They probably don't have it. They're so collective. It's like, well, we can't do that. We can't do this. It's racist.
Yeah, he really highlights a point here. Is it ideological or is it incompetence? And I think they're both pretty bad options, but one of them has to be correct. Because if they publish this data, it will shatter the narrative that they're trying to build up. And if it's incompetence, well, then the systems are out of date massively. If 90% of the questions aren't being asked in relation to like racial crime data, in relation to migrants that have been lost, etc., which Rupert Lowe has done, by the way, a brilliant job of really pushing and pulling at the strings of this government to find out these real, base data points that the public have a right to know. But it sounds like they're not even collecting the data. It's like, oh, if we can't collect it, then we can't publish it, and then the public will never know.
But he makes a great point. It's always like, there's always going to be a report being published. I've heard that a million times. Where are these reports that are being published? Is there right, on the 30th of November, this report is going to be published at 12 p.m. Simple as that, and you're going to get all the answers there. It's like, yeah, a report is going to be published in due course, and it's like, yeah, like whatever. It's just like their way of just like, we haven't got the answer. Let's deal with that another time. We'll wait to the committee next year, and then we'll go, well, the report is coming out. It's just been drafted up. It's coming out, later. It's coming out in due course. Again, like, they're just constantly, like, not dealing with a problem. It's just, like, batting it away constantly. And the thing I like about Rupert Lowe, quickly, is he's a businessman. I think we need more business people. Like, we're constantly getting lawyers. Like, for some reason, a lawyer now constitutes as they get their way into politicians. So they work in the city, and they then join, like, a Conservative Party or a Labour Party. That's why you see sort of Keir Starmer, Shabana Mahmood, all of these former lawyers. Why aren't we, like, giving the incentive to the business people? Because they are literally people in data. They run a company. They deal with people. And it's like, I'm not saying it's completely transitional to a country, but country, business, dealing with people, dealing with data, looking to try and make something successful. A lawyer's always like defending something or like, trying to cut corners and things to get a point across. I think we should have more business people in there. That's why Rupert Lowe is very good.
Exactly, because business people can't kick the ball down the road.
Yeah,
they're incentivized to create efficient processes in order to maximize profits. But the government doesn't run on profits. It runs on this like old style kind of bureaucratic system where you just can, forego responsibility because it's the future person's problem, not yours. And Rupert has a real kind of incentive in order to get this data for the people of this country. He doesn't have a sort of like monopoly on this on like this ideology. The thing about it is, she talks about not having the data. She has the data, but it's in a report and it's being processed. Well, you don't have the data then. Yeah. It's like saying, I have your phone, but it's at my house, at the other side of the world. Yeah. You don't have the phone then, it's the exact same.
Yeah. And just everything in that sort of Home Office needs completely gutted out because it's a failing product. It genuinely is a failing product, and the people that are there just there picking up a wage and don't really care. And this is what you get as a constitute of DEI. People have got their own agendas within that Home Office that be like, well, we can't publish the thing for Somalian. My father's Somalian. It's going to reflect bad on him. They all got their own sort of like agendas in there and saying, well, this is racist. This is it. It should just be a sake of just this is it. This is the data. It's being published. And I touched upon it yesterday with you actually, just in the cafe. I asked my girlfriend who's French. Obviously, I said to her, "Oh, what's the data like between like?" I think we're having a conversation. They have like a massive problem with like Arabs in, for the want of a better word. I don't know what they're added as. No, Arabs or whatever. But they have a problem with like that kind of demographic within their country, or at least many of the people feel that they have a problem with that. They're the ones that commit the crime. But I said, well, what's the crime data for the sort of like that sort of demographic? And it's like, yeah, we don't publish that in France. And I was like, what do you mean you don't publish that? It's like they don't publish anything on ethnicity, nothing at all. Like there is no. Do you know when we got that thing about sexual assaults in the UK and we saw Afghanis were the most per capita? There is no data towards that in France. What they do have is, and then I went down a little rabbit hole, which took me a few minutes, but this just shows why France are like 10 years ahead of us in their sort of decline, is that no one could be outraged about something because they haven't got the fact or the statistic that this is the case. They may have an assumption, but actually there is no statistic. So then I just took 2 minutes and went on ChatGPT and I just went, what is the crime makeup in France? It was like, well, they don't publish data on ethnicities and backgrounds, but foreigners within Paris make up 50% of all arrests. So foreigners, that could constitute as you visiting from England. But then I went, okay, I'm going to go a little bit further. Okay, so what is the main source of foreigner that comes to Paris each year in terms of who moves there? Oh, well, it's 50% is from Africa, or 48% is from Africa. So then I just thought, well, just a small stat there. 20, okay, so 50% of all arrests in Paris are foreign. 50% of all people coming from, of the foreigners coming are African. Mm-hmm. So then, is my math correct in saying 25% of the arrests are African?
Well, yeah, you'd assume so, but it could also be bigger because we don't know if it's a perfect split. We don't know if it's like Africans have a higher per capita or a lower per capita.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's it. But what they've done smartly there to keep their people from not questioning things, wrongfully, obviously, is that they can't argue because there's no stats there. There's no data to back this up. They might have like an assumption, but there's no data that's there.
Yeah, the truth can't be racist, right?
Yeah.
That's like an underlying thing. The truth cannot be racist because it's the truth. And there are hard truths and there are easy truths. This might be a hard truth for a lot of people because it creates a message that people may deem as racist. But it's not racist to public crime statistics. No one's forcing people to commit crime. Yeah. But it's just innate. It's in their
but wouldn't alarm bells just be going anyway? That in Paris, 50% of all arrests are foreigners. Yeah. That means you've got a huge problem there. Regardless of skin colour, regardless of nationality and where you're from, their data is 50% of all arrests in Paris are from foreigners, so not French national. And here's another thing. What constitutes as a French national? A second generation? That's from like Moroccans moved to France and then they had a kid there. Is that kid then French?
But by definition, yes.
So there you go. I mean, it's certainly wormhole, but that's a good way of suppressing their people because France is too late, mate. It's too late. We've got the men and women awakening here in the country. The Overton window shifted. Yeah. Their Overton window, I don't think, has shifted. I mean, a lot of people do, of course, were voting for Le Pen, and there is a bit of a rise for it. But yeah, they're still just.
Yeah, I think what we need in the UK as well is a big overhaul. Again, we've talked about this before, but like a Doge-style system, and not only cutting costs, but also modernising the sort of data collection systems. You know, a lot of the push in the US right now is kind of getting systems to talk to each other, right? Because there's arbitrage opportunities for fraud and scams when systems don't talk to each other, and they kind of create false identities on one system that relates to a different system that they can then, commit fraud, etc. What we need is crime statistics to be, first of all, public knowledge. We need to put that into law as soon as possible. That is absolutely a foundational point. We do, but then the Home Office don't publish the reports, right? So there's an efficiency issue we're talking about here. They have the data, it's in a report and it's on the way, but they'll say it's not my responsibility to create the report. So, they're just foregoing this responsibility they have for the public.
Yeah, well, okay, that's... We'll run out of time, basically.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. If you want to follow us on X, you can do so down below. My handle is pointblankdom. You can follow Dan as well at British Stan. Guys, if you want to become members to our show, support the lovely scenery we have here, the lovely studio we rent out every month, you can do so by becoming a member. Click the join button down below. It starts at £2.99. Once we hit 50 members, we can do a live stream every single week, answering questions, taking your calls, and just being a part of a community.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. The thing is that the clips do very well, and we appreciate your support on the clips, of course. But unfortunately, the space production is expensive, and Some of you guys know me for a long time on my channel. I've never asked for a penny off of you, but if I do, it usually means we need to try and break even. So do support if you can. If not, then don't worry. Your subscription and your likes and your comments is enough for me. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Peace.